It seemed to start as a simple cold. Then authorities thought perhaps it was a standard flu. It wasn't long before it was clear that the world was dealing with something much, much worse. Countries tried denying entry, mandating shutdowns, and limiting travel. But it continued to spread. It spread to every corner of the globe, and it started mutating. Governments tried everything they could as thousands upon thousands were dying. Civil unrest began to spread. Now, almost 2 years into the pandemic, as the bodies are piling up, the worst has happened.
Hello and welcome to another 31 Days of Horror 2021 video. And you can see it is just Leslie is not here, which is a little bit disappointing because the film we are about to talk about is one of the only horror franchises that I know of that Leslie has seen the entirety of, because we watched it together. And that's the Leprechaun franchise. So we are going to take a look at the 2018 film Leprechaun Returns. Yes, Leprechaun Returns. We're going back to the Leprechaun franchise. And this is a sequel slash reboot slash some. It's a weird situation. So this film does not take place after the current, the Leprechaun franchise that we've known, but actually after the first movie. But it's not between the first movie and the second movie. No, this is a completely different alternate storyline. So we have the first movie, and it now branches off into Leprechaun Returns and the Leprechaun franchise that we've come to know already. Let me just fix this a little bit, get it down a bit more so that I'm more in frame here. Here we go. So yeah, so it's 2018 was when this film came out. I believe it was produced for Sci-Fi and Lionsgate, and I think there was another company that was behind it. But it was generally Lionsgate, because Lionsgate owns I believe they own the rights to the Leprechaun series, and this was being produced for Sci-Fi by Sci-Fi along with another company that I've never really heard of. It runs roughly about an hour and a half, which is your standard, when it comes to many movies, but horror in general, that is your nice standard length. It was directed by Steve Kostanski of Astron 6 fame, a good Canadian boy. Yes, if you don't know who he is, he directed Manborg, The Void. He did a segment for ABCs of Death 2 called W is for Wish. And he also did Father's Day that ended up getting released by Troma. But oddly enough, he's actually more known for special effects, and that's actually how he ended up on this film. As a director, he was working for the company that was going to be doing the special effects, and essentially got approached and asked, "Hey, do you want to direct it?" So he said sure, and so he ended up directing the film as well as doing special effects on it. So in terms of effects credits, he's got credits like The Haunting in Connecticut, The Divide, Todd and the Book of Pure Evil TV series. He's done a lot of TV series like Defiance, if you've seen that one, or Hannibal TV series. He's also worked on Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings, and Resident Evil Retribution. He also worked on Silent Hill Revelation, Clown, Portal to Hell, Suicide Squad, Crimson Peak, and of course, because it was shot in the area, the 2017 remake of It. So yeah, great to see him. He's a really nice guy. So I was interested to see something that was from him. This film is written by Suzanne Keeley, who doesn't have a large body of work behind her, but she did some work including Ash vs. Evil Dead and a TV movie called Killer High. Now, the film, like I said, takes place after the first Leprechaun movie. So essentially, the Leprechaun is resurrected from his, in the end of the first movie, Leprechaun movie, he is pushed down the well on the property. So he is resurrected from that well, and instead of being a family looking to renovate the house, cottage, whatever you want to call it, the property there, it is essentially a sorority that has taken over the property and is turning it into a sorority house, which apparently is the only sorority that for we'll call it nearby college university, even though it's not really nearby. Apparently it's really far away from the house, because the house is remote, and of course doesn't have things like running water, internet, cell service, the regular things that you want to get rid of in a horror film to really isolate the characters. But so the film starts off with a certain character by the name of Lila, essentially coming in on a bus. She gets dropped off at a bus stop, and she is the daughter of a character from the first film. So here's your tie-in, right? This is how this film connects to the first film. She plays Lila, who is the daughter of Taylor. What was her name? No, Taylor's the name of the... Tori. Tori is the name of Jennifer Aniston's character in the first film. So she's the daughter of Jennifer Aniston. Well, not really, of Tori, who was played by Jennifer Aniston. Okay. This is the problem when I do these things. We watched it last night, and now we're here. And yeah, so she is coming in from the out of town. She's transferred schools over, wanted to change, and she's joining this sorority. This is the only sorority. There are no fraternities or sororities at this particular school, and this is the first one, and it's just starting up, right? So it's renovating the old house, and yeah. So essentially, we've got she makes the fourth girl in this sorority, and at one point early on, one of the sorority sisters invites over a couple of guys to help out and party. And of course, like I said, the Leprechaun gets resurrected and stuff happens. Now, the reason why Leslie is not here is because the Leprechaun is not played by Warwick Davis. No, he declined to do this film, which is too bad, because he is the Leprechaun, right? He you know, is as much as everybody, you know, has a, you know. And well, this is the thing. People make the character sometimes, you know. Freddy Krueger. We all know there's only one person who can play Freddy. Pinhead. There's only one person who can play Pinhead. And in a lot of people's minds, there's only one person who can play the Leprechaun. Now, the film does do a few things to explain why, you know, the Leprechaun is different. Is it a good job of doing so? I think it's decent enough. In terms of, you know, horror films and films in general, there's been a lot worse explanation for changes and why things are different from one film to the next, right, when it comes to sequels. But yeah, Leslie looked at it and she watched it, and as much as she could. I mean, she was in her phone for a good portion of it, but she watched it because it was a Leprechaun movie, and she does really like some of the Leprechaun movies. In fact, she likes Leprechaun in the Hood is her favorite, and Back to the Hood being her second favorite, and I guess probably the first Leprechaun then being her third, whereas I'm not a big, I mean, the Leprechaun franchise is a mixed bag, but let's all admit that, right? So I will say that, yes, not having Warwick was, I mean, if he's not going to do the film, there's nothing you can do about it, right? You just got to move on. But I really would have liked to have seen him in it, and Leslie definitely wanted to see him in it because it kind of turned her off, and of course that soured the whole movie for her. But that being said, who are the people in this film and what did they do? Lila, who was the daughter of Jennifer Aniston in this film, is played by Taylor Spreetler, who had done a few genre films, including The Contractor, Category 5, and Amityville: The Awakening. Then we also have Rose, played by Cy Bennett, who kind of takes on the leader. You know, she's always on everybody's case about, you know, getting stuff done. And I think she was the one who started the sorority and stuff like that. She had been in films like Trapped and Lake Placid Legacy. We then have Katie, who's played by Pepe Sanuga. And she's kind of, I think she's supposed to be kind of like the eco-friendly type person. She's you know, supposed to be maybe the hippie, you know, necessarily, but she doesn't come across as hippie-ish. In fact, her character really isn't explored that much in terms of her personality. But I'll get back to her in a little bit later. She was in a few films that genre, you know, would fall under genre categories, including Cheerleader Death Squad, which was a TV movie, Mortal Kombat X Generations, the TV series, Lab Rats Elite Force, the TV series, Ash vs. Evil Dead, and the films Under the Silver Lake and Thriller. Now, of course, every film kind of needs a bad girl, and that is Meredith, who is played by Emily Reed. This is her first feature film, and she plays the character of, she's supposed to be a botanist, so she's the reason why she's there is because, you know, they need to grow plants and all this kind of stuff. It's supposed to be, essentially this sorority and the sorority house are supposed to be this eco-friendly, self-sustaining thing, you know, solar power, pumps, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, she's the botanist and we'll call her token stoner, who likes to make alcohol from the plant she grows. Unlike most token stoners who would essentially, if they're the botanist, why is it always the botanist who's the token stoner, right? Like, but yeah, they tend to, well, I'm making, this great strain of marijuana, right? I got the weed. She doesn't go that way. No, she essentially comments the fact that, what? Any plant can be made into alcohol. So that's what she kind of does. Though you never see her actually making the alcohol, but you see her drinking enough alcohol. Then she is the one who brings over the two male students to a party, because when they show up, they're bringing pizza and booze. But she was instructed to find people to help with, this rebuilding of this building and the sorority, etc. The first one being Andy, who's played by Ben McGregor, who was in the TV series called Young Dracula. I think he was in the entire series. He was also in The Machine and a film called Crow, not the Dan O'Bannon Crow. But he is kind of Katie, her on again, off again boyfriend type thing. So he's an ex, but she's still into him even though she isn't into him type thing. You know how it goes, right? So that, yeah, they make up the love interest here in the film. And yeah, it's, I don't know. I guess he's supposed to be a hunky, dumb kind of guy, because he is played off as kind of a bonehead. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess he's just the token bonehead in the film, right? The dumb jock, but he's not I don't think he's a jock per se. Then he shows up with Matt, who's, his friend, but doesn't know any of the girls from before, and is also kind of like a wannabe filmmaker who carries around his camera everywhere shooting stuff. And he's played by Oliver Lewin Jenkins, who has a few credits to his name, but nothing noteworthy or even genre related. The Leprechaun, not played by Warwick Davis, is played by Lyndon Porco. And he is a little person, so in terms of his credits, he's got, a few Christmas films there. Not surprising. He was uncredited in Cult of Chucky, where he played the body. Interesting. So I guess he must have had, walking around as Chucky. You'd think he'd be credited as, Chucky Stand-in or something like that, but whatever. He was uncredited completely, but apparently he was played the body of something at some point. But he was also in the TV series Channel Zero, where he played Smartmouth. And I really love Channel Zero, so I mean, I don't know. I couldn't recall which character is Smartmouth, or even which episode or series it was in. But it must have been good, because he ended up in this film, right? Actually, I'm going to get to him in a little bit. Because there's one final character of note here, and that's Mark Holton returns to play Ozzy, which makes, Ozzy is the dim-witted character from the first Leprechaun film, so that makes, outside of the writing and of course the name, the only thing attaching this film to the first Leprechaun film, right? Like, yes, it has a leprechaun, but it's not the same leprechaun. Well, it is the same leprechaun due to the writing, but it's a different actor, it's a different look. It is technically a different location, but it is the same location, but only through writing, because, you know, it's not actually shot at the same place. None of the same actors outside of Mark return to the film. So, and he's playing his same character, and he is also the first, well, spoiler here. Spoiler. He's also the first person to get killed. And I will continue on that spoiler that he's the first person to get killed, and you think, oh, okay, he's returning, he must have blah, blah, blah. And he is kind of, in terms of actors, he would have been the biggest name, in my opinion, on the film. So you're thinking, okay, they killed him off early on to get rid of, you know, free up that he only has a small, you know, short period of time to shoot, and he's got maybe the largest salary or something, so, you know, put him in there early, get rid of him. But no, he's actually throughout the film. So they kind of do a American Werewolf in London thing where, you know, you get killed by the leprechaun and you return as a a ghost type thing. But if you haven't seen Leprechaun, because he's obviously in that, he's also in other genre films like Undercover, Sledgehammer, Rumpelstiltskin, Gacy, where he played Gacy. He was also in Madhouse, Hoboken Hollow. He actually had a small role in A League of Their Own, which is not really genre, but it's a big film. But for me, I mostly know him, and it's not from Leprechaun, even though he had a big thing in Leprechaun. I mostly know him from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where he played the character Francis, as well as the Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2 films where he played Chubby, the classmate of the wolf. I can't even remember the character's name. Why can't I remember the character's name in Teen Wolf? Whatever. Comment down below. I mean, you're probably screaming at the screen here saying, "How can you not remember?" Blah blah blah. But yeah. So that's everybody, you know, who was in the film and acted in the film, for the most part. I mean, there are a couple of other people here and there, but they have very, very small roles. But that being said, yeah, Warwick Davis doesn't return, so and thus Leslie doesn't return for this review. Because she was not impressed. She essentially tuned out for the most part. She watched it, in theory, if you can call it watching it. But yeah, so she's not giving it a recommend. I didn't even get like a rating from her, but I don't know. Well, who knows what it will be. I won't put words in her mouth. But I will say that the replacement, though looking different, different, and sounding different, similar but different. I felt he was higher pitch in terms of his voice, but I think he did a fairly good job, and thanks to the writing, I think it definitely pulled off the Leprechaun. Maybe, well, I mean, obviously Warwick is the Leprechaun. He will always be the Leprechaun. But in some of the films, even with Warwick in it, I felt that the writing wasn't there. Because to me, there's two things that the Leprechaun has to do. He has to provide good kills and make witty, joke, rhymey things going on, right? That's kind of that character. it doesn't need to be like Freddy Krueger style jokes. It needs to be Leprechaun style jokes where maybe there's a limerick or a rhyme or something to go along with it. And it's kind of, witty and fun. And I think they did a good job in this film of doing that. They also did a good job of taking the bits and pieces of the mythos that has been introduced over the Leprechaun films and sprinkling them in here. But it is still hard to see this as a Leprechaun film without Warwick. And that hurts. I will say that the acting in general is good. I didn't have any problem with the acting. I felt that the character of Katie, the African American eco-friendly student who is the love interest of Andy, I thought they could have played more on her character and what her background is outside of just being the sex pot for Andy, like for her and Andy to just get it together. Because they really, everybody kind of had this thing going on. So, Rose being the leader of the group, she's also kind of a stickler. She's telling people what to do and constantly being like, we need to get this done. We need to, don't forget to wake up. Let's go do it. No. Kind of a busybody type thing. Obviously, Meredith being, the stoner type party girl. She's kind of got a punk rock attitude to her. And then of course you've got your main character of Lila, who is just your everyday, supposed to be kind of like your girl next door, even though her mother had problems and passed away. So that's kind of her thing. But Rose didn't really have a personality trait to attach to her. I would have liked to have seen more of maybe an eco-friendly where she was like, guys, we need, more of the, we need to do this, we need to do that. And it might have been in there and got shot, but just wasn't included in the film. Because, there are a few moments where it's alluded to that, hey, that's not, we're not doing the eco-friendly thing right now, but we should be. Outside of that, I think everybody's characters were kind of well-defined. Ozzy, returning as the ghost type thing. I liked the fact that they were able to use Mark more in the film. I just don't know if it... Well, and this is the thing, right? I'm thinking about, the other Leprechaun films, and I don't know that it had ever been done, but at the same time, does it need to have been done in the other Leprechaun films, considering this is a sequel, reboot, reimagination thing going on? I guess not, right? They can do their own little thing. And, I mean, it was okay. I don't know that the film necessarily was better because of it. I don't know that it was worse because of it. It was just there. And it allowed for more... makeup effects to be used in the film. The kills. The first kill is good. And there are some good kills, but most of the kills and the effects in this film seem to revolve around the head. Decapitations, smashing of heads, puncturing of heads and stuff like that. And so yeah, there is a decent amount of the red stuff. I'm not going to go on over all the kills and which ones were better and which ones were not up to snuff. There are a lot of kills. Some of them are better than others. I think more towards the beginning of the film. The first few kills are probably the better ones, and then it's not that it goes downhill. It's just that they aren't up to the same level, in my opinion. They generally look good. There are a few silly moments visually. You know, a couple involving a drone. Yeah, and you know, and electricity always tends to be a little bit corny in the films, you know. And that's just in general. I find most films, when they introduce the electricity, it often goes a little campy. But because this is technically a horror comedy film, the campiness is okay, right? The Leprechaun does his jokes. There are jokes throughout the film. There are dialogue jokes in the film. Some of them are good. Some of them could have been better. I think the delivery wasn't really there in terms of some of them, even though the actual joke itself was probably pretty good, in my opinion. But well, do I call this film funny? Not in my opinion, but I don't generally find it takes a lot or a certain type of humor for me to find something funny. This was humorous. It, you know, makes you smile. There was, you know, moments. That being said, final thoughts on the film. If I'm going to give it a rating out of 5, I'm going to go kind of in the middle with a 2.5 out of 5. It's not bad. It's not great. It's acceptable. I do think that my opinion is, well, at least when we watched it, was a little bit swayed by the no Warwick Davis fact to the, you know, him not being in the film. So it kind of soured my viewing experience. Not as much as Leslie's, obviously, but definitely soured it a bit. I don't know, maybe if I watch it later on down the road, I may think different and I may like it more. It's good. It's fun. I'd say it looks better and seems a lot better than some of the later Leprechaun films, because they were getting like, wow, I guess all the budget was put on the makeup of Warwick Davis, because the rest of the film, you know, the kills and such just weren't there for some of them. But this one, you know, and I kind of expected that with Kostansky being the director and involved with the effects. That's his thing, right? So he was hands-on with the effects, you know, especially because they were physical effects. And I would expect that he was probably more hands-on and involved in those than most directors. So he, you know, he had a certain thing that he wanted done, and you know, he tried to make that happen as best as possible with what was available. And yeah, I mean, that portion of the film is good. It is very good. Look at the film is okay. Could there have been a little bit better writing? Maybe a little bit. The writing's not bad. Did Steven do a good job with the directing? He did a decent job. I mean, there are much worse films in terms of directing out there. There are a few weird choices made here and there, and a few things where when you're watching the film, you kind of get the sense that, I kind of know what they were trying to do, but I don't necessarily think they pulled it off. And then there's a few things where I think there might have been other stuff shot, or I hope there was other stuff that they were shot or written but never got shot, because there are moments in the film where you're kind of questioning, being like, that seems to be, you know, relating to something we haven't really seen yet or ever in the film. So it's not foreshadowing or hindsight or any of that. It's just kind of seems like something was missing. But that being said, I give it a recommend. I mean, it's still a good, like, if you look at it as not being part of the Leprechaun franchise, I think you could definitely enjoy this a lot more than some of the other films coming out these days. I mean, especially considering we're getting a lot of, Conjuring type stuff coming out. It's good to see a nice little creature slasher thing going on, right? Like, outside of Chucky, where's our slashers, right? We need well, yeah, okay. No, we haven't had it's been a while since Jason's and Freddy have been around, but you know what I'm saying. It's good to see a return to the Leprechaun universe, even if this is a different universe, but not different universe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyways, let me know if you've seen Leprechaun Returns. Right? What did you think of it? I don't know. Was this on the Sci-Fi Channel? Was it in theaters? I don't remember. I think it played some theaters. I could be wrong. Maybe. Let me know. If you know if this was in theaters or if you saw it on television, comment down below. Do love to hear from you. More 31 Days of Horror do come. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.